Hey, badass business owners, welcome to another episode of the Local Small Business Coach Podcast, where each episode we work on getting you to $100,000 in take-home pay. So if you're all ready to boost your profits, increase your sales, improve your processes, and develop stronger teams so you can stop living job to job, then let's dive in. Hey, badass business owners, how you doing? Welcome back to the Local Small Business Coach Podcast. All right, I want to dive right in. I want to talk about seasonality, and this is one of my favorite episodes every year. And I'm going to change it up a little bit this year. And I just want to talk about seasonality because here's the thing. Right now, as I'm recording this, it is mid-October. And a couple different things happen with different ones of you. There are some people that are about to go into their busiest season. Maybe your season goes up because you are tied to the holidays. Maybe you sell stuff that Christmas time, it just goes crazy. There's some businesses you wouldn't think of that actually pick up. For example, people with carpets, carpet cleaning, carpet installing, they actually go up because people want to get their flooring done before the holidays. So some businesses take off even if we never thought about it. I mean, obviously like snow removal, things that have to do with the winter are going to pick up. And then there's some of you that are on the complete opposite end of the scale where you are completely going out of season. And in which case, you're trying to figure out how you're going to survive the next 2 to 3, 4 months because all of your business is done during the spring and summer months. Now, seasonality, I guess it's one of those things because of that. I actually technically could talk about it going into the spring as well as going into the fall. But for some reason, fall always resonates with me because I think far more businesses go out of season than go into season. Because of that, I'm actually going to talk about both going into season and going out because I do think it means something to all of you. And then also because we're going into, in the next couple of weeks, I'm not sure which one, we're going to talk about putting together your next year's plan. I think seasonality is a good conversation to have before you put that plan together because even if you're not going into season right now, you're going to be going into season and you need to take seasonality into consideration as you do it. Now, here's the thing when it comes to seasonality. First and foremost, you need to make sure you have a plan for both the peaks and the valleys. Because no matter what, if you have valleys, some people's business is about the same or it has little movement through the course of the year. That's fantastic, but you can still get something from this episode. But for the vast majority of businesses, you actually have bigger swings. Some swings just happen to go off the charts versus other times of the year. But here's one of the big mistakes that I see that people make when it comes to seasonality is they don't maximize the swings up. So let's talk first about the swings up. If you know you're going to be doing, and in most cases, let's just say in 4 months, you're going to do 70% of your sales. That's huge in a short period of time. It's really important that you run your business the same as if it was one of the slower months. Because what I see happen is all this money is coming in and what's also happening is all this money is going out. And the reality is even if we got your slower months up, you're still going to be some of your weakest months out of the year. But I need you to really focus on how you're going to maximize the seasonal swings up. How are you going to maximize your sales? But more importantly, how are you going to maximize your profits? Because some of those profits need to be earmarked for the back half of the year. They need to be earmarked for you to be able to pay any bills that you have, any leases, any mortgages, any employees that you have aboard, whatever the case may be. Because there's some bills. Guess what? Your bills don't stop just because you're in your slower months. Now, you might have more expenses when it's busy, absolutely, because you got higher product costs and everything else. And you might expand your teams a little bit more. But overall, you still have those fixed costs, if you will, that go year round. So it's really, really important that you maximize those peak times. And what I find is, for example, let's just swing that into the peak time coming up here. For those of you whose business takes off in November, December, and January, are you going into it with a plan in place to maximize it? For example, did you start your advertising early enough? one of the other mistakes that I see people make all the time when they get ready to go into their peak time and into their season is they did no pre-work. And that is a huge mistake that I think we make, whether we're going into the holiday months of your peak or if you go into spring. I want you both to listen to me. You've got to start planning earlier than what you currently start planning. So for example, if you have a business that takes off for Christmas, you right now is when you need to be planting the seeds, putting out some coupons, putting out some feelers, start advertising the stuff that you sell really well. I'm going to give you an example that is kind of a little bit different. I was reading this article about the new iPad that might be coming out. I like iPads. I'm an Android user, but I love iPads, and I really love the iPad Pro because it's bigger. Well, anyways, I came across this article that was talking about how they're going to make another big one because they've only redone the littler one. But then it really got me going because I already knew I was going to talk about this subject. But here's something, for example, that iPad and Android do really well. Is they know that they're going to roll out these phones in the back half of the year. And the reason they roll them out in the back half of the year is because they want to maximize their sales at the holiday season. They want to maximize their sales at Christmas time. And they're going to have two bumps. They're going to have the first bump from the diehards that have to have it right away. And then they have the diehards who can't afford it, but are going to tell all their family and friends this is what they want for Christmas and in hopes that that's what they're going to get. So by getting the buzz and creating it early, it actually creates this anticipation that people want to buy these products for Christmas. They're able to get it into people's minds of what they want. So for example, if you have a business that sells stuff at the Christmas time frame, are you creating that buzz early? Are you creating it now? For example, I have a friend who has a printing business. She happens to do t-shirts, and one of her most popular shirts that she sells has to do with sports, favorite mom, kids, stuff that have to do with parents and sports and stuff like that. Well, guess what? They always take off right at the holiday season. And the reason that they take off twice, just like we were talking about with Apple and Android. They take off at the beginning of that particular sport, but they also take off at Christmas time because it's a great gift for somebody to give somebody that it's their favorite kid's sport, whatever, soccer mom, whatever. I want you to start thinking about your business and what item or service can you start creating that buzz early enough so that way by the time that you're the only person they think of when they need it. Because remember, people only need you when they need you. They don't necessarily need you beforehand. So if they don't need you until they need you, your whole goal is how do you create that top of mind awareness so that you're the only person they think of when it comes time for your product or service as you go into season. So part of the whole seasonal swing piece is I want you really fired up in getting people to really crave it. Okay. So far what we've talked about is the fact that you need to find ways to maximize the sales. And one way to do that is to start early and get people engaged in wanting to do it. All right. We also talked about the fact that you need to build a nest egg. You need to hold on to as much of that money as you can. You need to budget it out. You need to set it aside. Earlier when I was mentioning that, one of the things that I forgot to mention is, if you have to set up a secondary account that you put that money into, then you need to do it because really you need to have a separate account, whether it's a savings account, whatever it is. You need to have a different account for your taxes so you make sure you don't touch your tax money. And then you also need to have a separate account for the money that you need, your rainy day fund, if you will, your emergency fund for the slower months. And if you're trying to keep all that money bundled together, trust me, if it is in front of you, you're going to spend it. You're going to think different. You need to get it out of sight, out of mind. So if you have a heavy seasonal swing time frame, and even if you don't, I highly recommend that you create an account on the side that you put those funds away. That way you do not spend them. You don't touch them. You don't dip into them. You don't think of them top of mind. If it's an account you don't look at on a regular basis, you're less likely to spend it. And in matter of fact, you're probably going to forget how much money's in there. You just need to make sure that you're in the habit of continually put money in there. Every month, every week, however you pay yourself or however you do your bills, you need to put money into those accounts. So make sure you have a separate account for both your taxes and for your rainy day fund. So that way you are ready for those seasonal swings. The other thing that I want to challenge you on that a lot of folks don't have when it comes to seasonal ups and downs is they don't know their numbers. They don't know what percentage of business they do in any given time frame. Earlier, I mentioned that it's not uncommon for a lot of people to do 70% of their business in a 4-month period. And it might be a 6-month period, but whatever the case may be, it's the vast majority of their sales. Let me ask you, do you know what percentage of your business you do in December? Do you know what percentage of business you do in May? Do you know what percentage of business you do right now in October? But here's the thing. A lot of you don't know that. And a lot of you went, and you were very glad that I wasn't sitting right next to you to ask you that question because you wouldn't know the answer. Do you have to have it memorized? No. Do you have to have a general idea? Yes. Do you need to know better than just picking it out of your butt? Yes. And I know that's very crude, but it's very true. A lot of times when I'm talking to people, they're just making it up on the fly. They're going off of what their gut tells them and everything else. And then when we dive into the actual numbers, it's nothing like they thought. You might find that for some of you, that you, let's just say you have a landscaping business. Believe it or not, you might find that December is only 3% of your business. Holy cow, that is tiny. You know what? You need to figure out what that is, because no matter what, it's even if you had, so let me do a number here real quick, bear with me. Let's just say 100 divided by 12. So even if you were a flat business, you're looking at 8.3% of your business. Okay. So here's the thing. That's a flat business. So unless your business is very flat, I'm going to guarantee you that in your slower months, it's below 8%. And in your higher months, it's going to be way above that. And it's not uncommon for some of your best months to run 18, 20, 25% of your business. So you need to know, are you a 3% business in your slowest time? In which case you need to find out what are your, we're going to talk about cash flow coming up at the request of a couple of folks, but I want to talk about cash flow. But one of the big things with cash flow is you need to know what your business expenses are during your slowest time frame. So let me ask you, do you know what your percentage is? If you don't know what it is, I need you to go do it right now. I need you to take the percentage for the year. You can use last year's numbers. You can use this year's numbers. All you have to do is write down how many sales you've done each month and divide it by your total sales. So let's just assume that you did $70,000 for the entire year. And let's just say that what you did for last month is you did $6,000. So if you did $6,000 and your total sales for the year were 70, guess what that's going to be? That's going to put you at 8.5%. So that's almost at your 1/12 of a time frame. But let's just say you did $20,000 out of that 70 during that time frame. That's a completely different number, because now you're going to take that 20 divided by that same year-to-date number, 70, and it's going to be 28% of your sales. See how that changes? I know a lot of people don't like math, and I don't blame you. As a matter of fact, one of the tools that I've been working on allows you to be able to figure it out by month, but it's really simple to do. Just take your entire year's sales, whatever that number is, and then take your monthly sales and divide your monthly sales by your annual sales. That's going to tell you the percentage of business that you do during that particular month. You need to know what it is. And even better is if you've been in business for multiple years, you need to stack them, because it's going to give you the range of what happens year after year after year. For example, you might discover that you do anywhere between 4 to 5% of your business in the month of November. If that's the case, then you know how to budget next year. So when we're going into 2019 and we start talking about planning for next year, guess what? That number's very handy, because now you can say, okay, next year I'm going to go for $90,000. And if you're going to go for $90,000 and you know that you do about 4% of your business in November, so let's do some quick math here. And we're going to take the 90,000 and we're going to times that by the 0.04%. And you're going to know that out of your 90 in the month of November, you need to plan on doing $3,600, $3,600. Look, I get that you don't like math, but guess what? You got to get over it. You're in business, and part of being in business means knowing your numbers. And we're going to continue to drill this home when we get into the planning for next year. But when it comes to your seasonality, this is also very important, because you need to know, because once again, you need to know that, let's go take our person again, and we're going to take our 90,000, and we know that they do 28%, right? So we're going to take that times 28%, and we're going to know that in their peak month, they're going to do $25,000 worth of sales. Can you see the difference of why that's so important to know? Because in their peak month, they're going to do $25,000, and in their low month, they're going to do 3.5. That is huge. That is a big difference that they need to fully understand how they can leverage both of those. How do they get that 25 in the first place? Because that's a pretty big number. But at the same time, not how they're going to get 3.5. But one, how are they going to plan financially to do their costs and everything else associated with that 3.5? But then also, what could they do? I mean, is 3.5 okay just because, that's the way that it's been? No. Ask yourself, how can you get maybe $5,000 instead of 3.5? It doesn't mean you stop pushing yourself during those slower months. Now, if that's the time frame that you want to take time off, you want to take a week off, I'm good with that because I do think you need to recharge your batteries. So, of course, your slowest month is the perfect time for you to take a month off, or not a month off. Well, some of you might take a month off, but it's a perfect month for you to take a week or two off as long as you have budgeted and put that emergency fund in place where you're leveraging the sales from that $25,000 that we just talked about. Hopefully your wheels are going and you're starting to think about your business right now. All right. Because one of the things I want you to do when it comes to this whole seasonal swing is then take it another level deeper. Another level means this, that now you start diving in by category. You're going to start looking at individual products. You're going to look at individual, I was going to say SKUs. That's my old, brick and mortar kind of days. You're going to look at individual, services that you offer, and then ask yourself, guess what? Those are also going to have swings. But guess what? Those swings may not mirror your overall sales that you do. I'm going to give you a great example. Okay. We'll go back to my ice cream shop. Okay. Let's take cakes, for example. The best months for my ice cream shop were going to be the summer months. Okay. It's hot. Sales are going to go up. They're going to go much higher. So May and June are going to be the top months. Well, guess what? For cakes, those weren't the top months. It was a lower percentage of my business. I'm not saying I didn't do decent business, but when you think about it, I'm selling way more scoops of ice cream, if you will, way more drinks. Drinks go up taller. But where the cakes start to take off is actually in the back half. September and October are August, big birthday months. You go into the holidays. And because I wouldn't sell as many cups and cones and drinks, guess what? The percentage of cakes go up. And the reason that I tell you that, and I can go into a lot of different businesses that have this, there's just certain items and products and services that you sell during certain times of the year. People aren't going to buy winterized type of things in the summer, nor are they going to buy summer things in the winter. Other than the clothing industry that always does that, because you ever notice you can't buy a jacket in the summer, or you can't buy a jacket in the winter, and you can't buy a bathing suit in the summer. It's really weird because they offset them. But for most people, they're going to want to buy during the time frame that they're in. So I want you to look at your business and look at your categories and take it down another step. Take the categories and also break it down by percentages by month. There's so much fun that you can have with numbers that you really don't even have to be a huge number person. You just have to know the basic calculations, which is the month divided by the year. So if you take the total year sales, take the monthly sales and divide it by the total yearly sales, you can get those percentages. And I really think you need to look at your total sales when you do that. And I think you need to look at by categories, by products, by SKUs, and know that same thing. Seasonality can be a lot of fun. It doesn't necessarily have to be that pain in the butt that we all think of. We always get depressed when it comes to seasonality. We love the highs. We love the run-ups, but we really start to put our head in the sand and we hide from the lows. And believe it or not, if you're looking at those numbers and you're diving in year round, but definitely as you go into both seasons, into the slow and into the high, you can have a lot of fun with numbers. You can learn a lot about your business. So I really want you, once again, I want you to know your percentages of sales per month for your overall business. And I want you to start diving into categories or individual products and services and really make sure that you get to understand those. Then I also want you to brainstorm, and I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail on this particular one, but I want you to brainstorm. What are the products, the services that you can really drive during the summer months, what you can drive during the winter months, whenever your highs are, whenever your lows are? I want you to think of businesses that you can expand during your slower months. That's one way that you can bring more sales in. There's a reason a lot of landscapers also do snow removal because they've got the trucks, they've got the equipment, they can throw those on there. There's people that have riding lawnmowers that stick snow plows on the back and they just start clearing people's driveway. That's what they do during the winter months. Now, some of you may not have that. For example, a landscaper here in Arizona is going to be removing snow. But there are a lot of places out there that can do something like that. You can change your business. Painters have learned this. Painters know that when the weather's really nice, they're going to paint the outside. When the outside is really crappy, they move to the inside of the house, and they learn to adjust their business accordingly. Hopefully, if you're a painter and you haven't figured that out yet, it's something you definitely need to do. But once again, you can run specials. Another thing that you can do, by the way, is you can pre-sell the next season. There are people that have services that go really strong during the spring and summer months. And what they do is they pre-sell them in January or December, and they say, hey, look, my prices are going to be going up at the first of the year, but if you book now and you prepay for next year on those services you do on a regular basis, you can go ahead and get them at the discounted price. So I'll even throw in 1 month for free. You pay for 11, you get 1 month for free. It's a great way to create some income during those slower months by getting people to prepay it. Now, I know what some of you are thinking is if I get them to prepay, they're not going to play at the time, blah, blah, blah. That's absolutely true. But sometimes by locking in and giving some kind of incentive, it actually keeps them from going away, because I do want you to look at your pricing as you go into the new year. Don't want you to do anything crazy, but if you're going to increase your prices, this is a great way to lock those people in for another season of it. And also, once again, it's part of your plan, because if your sales are going to go up to $25,000, you pre-collect that money. What's one of the things you hate doing during that time frame? You hate invoicing. You hate accounting during that time frame and keying all that in. If somebody pre-does stuff, that's just one more thing you get to take off here. So there's pros and cons to everything, but in some cases it locks people up who might forget about you. Have you ever had customers that they use you like 7-8 months out of the year, and then because you go on a hiatus for a couple of months because of the slow time, all of a sudden that you find out that they're using somebody else because it was out of sight, out of mind. By having them do it, sometimes you can lock that in. So it's another great opportunity for you to be able to do that. Listen, there's a lot of different things that you can do. I just want you guys, my whole purpose of today's episode is I want you thinking of seasonality differently than you have in the past. I want you to take it down one more thing. I want you to take it down another notch. I want you to know the numbers of your seasonality. I want you to dive in and start figuring out what's happening behind the scenes. I want you to know it from a SKU level, from a product to service level, from a category level, from a monthly level. What's those percentages? I want you to make sure that you're setting that money aside. I want you to, if you don't already, make sure, like I said earlier, that you've got that account that you have your taxes going into, the account that your monies that you need to be able to go into the slower times. But I also want you to start preparing. I want you to start preparing for how you're going to maximize both the slow time and the high time. We're going to dive into this one a little bit more. Like I said, it'll either be next week or the following week. I'm not sure yet, but we're going to start our planning for the next year. And we're going to start diving in some of the exercises I want you to do, especially for those of you that are going into your slower times. There's no excuse for you not to start working on your business. That is huge. That's another thing from a seasonality standpoint that I think a lot of people don't take advantage of. You just come off of some of the craziest months that you've had in your company, and all you want to do is rest. Well, I want to challenge you. I want you to take some time to rest, but I also want you to take that time, and I want you to work hard, and I want you to start working on your business and start cleaning up some of those processes. I want you to do a deep dive into what didn't go out so well, what didn't work so well, where did you leave money on the table, where did things go wrong, what do you need next year to make it even more successful. Those are the things I want you to start thinking about. We're going to dive in, like I said, a little bit more in those over the next couple of weeks, but now that's another thing with seasonality that you can take advantage of. You can take advantage of those times to just decompress and start taking in things of what went well, what didn't go well. But for now, do me a favor, every single one of you, I'm going to stop rattling here. I think I've driven this point home. You have marching orders. Every single one of you have marching orders. And that is, I want you to know your percentages by month. I want you to know what it is you do. And by the way, if you discover that it was nowhere like you thought, maybe the percentage was way higher, way lower, whatever the case may be, I want you to drop in and let me know that. I want you to either shoot me an email at Tammy@localsmallbusinesscoach and tell me what you discovered. So once again, Tammy@localsmallbusinesscoach.com. Drop me an email and tell me what you discovered. Good, bad, ugly. Just tell me. Other thing is, if you're part of the Badass Local Small Business Coach, Badass Local Small Business Owner Facebook group, once again, it's in the link if you want to join. But go in there, talk about it. I'll probably bring it up in there as well. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you discovered by doing this little exercise. And did you have any aha moments? Did anything surprise you? And do that. All right. With that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. But I want you to start looking at your seasonality. I want you to get fired up about it. I want you to get excited. And by the way, if you have been in business for more than a year, I want you to do when you do the exercise, I want you to stack your years. I want you to put them on top of each other. I want you to say, hey, every December has looked like this. Every November has looked like this. Every March has looked like this, whatever the case may be. I want you to do that. And then really look for trends. Look for things that give you those aha moments on how you can leverage and take advantage of your business. All right, with that, I am really going to leave this time. But once again, our whole goal here is to help you start looking at your business a little differently than what you have in the past. Hopefully you got a nugget out of this, and I think that you can take it. So once again, don't forget, come join us over on that Facebook group page. The link is in the show notes. It's called Badass Local Business Owners. Love to have you come join the group. Okay. With that, I'm really leaving this time. I keep saying I am. You keep staying. I keep talking. That's a really bad combination. All right. I'll see you next week. Bye. Hey, badass business owner, before you go, are you sick and tired of working so many hours and still not being able to grow your business? Are you ready to start earning the income you deserve for the work you are doing? Do you have so many ideas and you just don't know where to start? Well, maybe you need a business coach. And guess what? I just happen to know one. Yeah, me. We can do a one-time strategy session, or we can set up a 6-week coaching plan. If you would like to learn more about this, just click on the link in the show notes or go to localsmallbusinesscoach.com/work-with-me. You can take a quick survey so I can learn a little bit more about your business, and then we can set up your free consultation call. Remember, I'm here to help. You do not have to do this alone.